guys, Eddie back with Couch Talk. Welcome back to the show. If it's your first time with me, welcome to the show. Guys, please hit like, please hit subscribe, turn your notifications on. It really, really helps me out with the algorithm, and I need all the help I can get. Guys, I'm going to talk to you today about a grave matter. That is the death of freedom. And the death of freedom is going to come with central bank digital currencies. That's right. They're on the horizon. I'm going to tell you about a recent experience of mine. I walked into a bank, my bank, and I tried to make a withdrawal, tried to pull a couple $100 out. And the bank manager informed me that they are transitioning to a cashless bank. Oh, what? You heard me. A cashless bank. I'm like, I literally lost my mind when I heard that. So obviously, I took all of my money out on the spot and then got an account at the bank down the street, which is not currently transitioning to a cashless bank. But I'm sure that it's only a matter of time. Before I go into this video, I need to kind of teach you guys a little something about the banking structure. Because, to be completely honest, even I didn't really know much about the banking structure until I started digging into this and to figure out who's really pulling the strings and to figure out who's kind of where the chess game is really being played. Because it's not at the local level, right? Like what you guys see, what we see is our interaction with the bank. So that's individual to local bank. And most of the time, that's where it stops, right? That's, for most people, that's all they ever know about the banking system. They don't know what's above that. They don't know why that bank has the money that it has to be able to give it to you, right? It's just the system works, so they don't really question it, right? For some of you who delve a little bit deeper, who get, for example, a loan for a house, you may interface with a commercial bank, a large-scale commercial bank. Those are banks like, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, things like that. Big, big banks, right? But even so big as they are, there's a bank above them, and that is the central bank. And for most of us, that's the Federal Reserve, right? Now, here's the tricky part. You would think that in any particular nation, that's where it stops. But oh no, you would be wrong. We would all be wrong. Because above the central bank is another entity known as the International Monetary Fund. And they basically control transfers between different central banks of different nations, right? And you would think that maybe that's as big as it gets. But oh no. No, above them is the Bank for International Settlements. So I guess they would manage any kind of differences between the international transfers, like any kind of issue that arises, they would arbitrate, right? And so the Bank of International Settlements is essentially the top dog, right? I think there's a famous quote by Henry Kissinger, and that is, I may be quoting him slightly wrong, but I'm maybe paraphrasing. Whoever controls the food controls the country. Whoever controls the energy controls whole continents. And whoever controls the money controls the world. Well, guess who controls the world, guys? It is this Bank of International Settlements. And they're the ones that are behind this chess game to roll out these CBDCs. There's a program called Project Icebreaker, which is what IMF is rolling this out. The International Monetary Fund is rolling this out to basically coach every nation on Earth on how to roll out CBDCs. And what they've done now, and this is, you would ask why they do this and why what the system we've got right now isn't sufficient. And they're going to tell you it's because it makes you safer, right? They're going to tell you it's for safety. They're going to tell you it's because This way they can monitor terrorism. This way you don't have to worry about banks going under like they did just recently. And by the way, if you saw my other video, I'll put a link below. They did that on purpose. They did that on purpose because they're trying to roll this program out. As a matter of fact, it's from their playbook, right? We'll talk about that in a second too. But I want you guys to see something. I saw this the other day, and it blew my mind away how brutally honest this guy is, right? But I want you guys to see what the true purpose of this CBDC rollout is and why cash is no longer sufficient. Watch this.
Our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that.
Absolute control and the technology to enforce it. And you heard it straight from the boss of the Bank of International Settlements, the top dog. The reason that they want to roll this out is so that they will have absolute control. Like, make no mistake of this. This is the death of freedom, right? I am not overshooting. I am not, this is not a conspiracy theory. I'm not off my rocker here. This is the death of freedom. If I can't transact freely, then I have lost two of my core unalienable rights: liberty and property. Two of them, because they control it all. And I'm going to tell you what, it gets worse, right? So now there's this, they put out a handbook, the IMF put out a handbook called the IMF Approach to CBDC Capacity Development. And in this handbook, this is the handbook they give to all the nations to roll out these CBDCs. In this handbook, it details how IMF has established a new CBDC called Unicoin. And that will be the new currency at the international level. So instead of having currency reserves like we do now, which is kind of agreeably, it's kind of a messed up system, right? It's kind of a broken system. So there is a need to fix it, right? But we've already done that, and I'll explain that in a moment. But instead of that, what they want to do is basically utilize that. And so now whenever you wire money from one place to another, you no longer will be wiring money from one bank to another, and it won't have to go up this pyramid and back down. It'll bypass all that and just go straight there. Now, don't get me wrong, it's more efficient. It's more efficient. But also, in this handbook, they detail that they want to phase out cash. They want to phase out crypto, because crypto is the free market answer. Crypto is the answer that we already have to those problems, right? And crypto doesn't give them absolute control. And crypto doesn't tell them every single transaction we make. You heard that guy say, he was like, they want to know every time someone spends a $100 bill. Every time someone wants to outlay cash, they want to know about it. So there will be no more giving your kid across the street $20 to mow the lawn. Nuh-uh, that's gone. There will be no more buying something from a yard sale for $5 without them knowing about it and and probably them getting paid for it, right? There's probably going to be a transaction fee. Now they're going to use this icebreaker hub. It's going to be this international hub, and that's where the CBDCs will go through there. Anytime you need to make an international transaction, go through there and get rerouted. Meanwhile, they get to know everything. Now, keep in mind, this is policy implementation at an above national level, right? And don't even get me started on who runs this community, right? Who runs the Bank of International? It's like, so this program, this new network protocol for the Unicoin program is put out by, boy, what are they called? The Digital Currency Monetary Authority. I mean, have you even heard of half of these guys? Digital Currency Monetary Authority? So they're an authority above the nation that gets to control how we utilize our money. And they have the series of network protocols. And guys, I'll look through this network protocol page, and they have the power at any time to modify, suspend, create, pause a transaction, burn crypto. I mean, basically, they just can do whatever they want with it at any point. So if maybe you've eaten too much for the month. Maybe they don't want you to overutilize resources. Canceled. Maybe you already have too many firearms in your house. Maybe we don't want you to have another one. Canceled. They can do whatever they want to you with this program. And they will know every penny that moves. Guys, this is a nightmare, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier with it kind of defeating the point of currency. So originally the point of currency is like, all right, if you're gonna complete a transaction, right? Like, let's say I'm trading a cow for a goat. Okay, that's easy. I've got a cow and I've got a goat. I make the swap, right? And keep this in mind, because barter system is something we may have to go back to. Now, what if I don't have a goat, but I'll have one next week? All right, now I'll tell my friend, look, I don't have a goat today, but come back next week and I got you, right? Now, if my friend knows me, great. But if he doesn't, the point of money is I hand him a bill saying, look, I don't have the goat, but this is legal tender. You can go get a goat with this if you need it. Or you can just hand it to me and I'll give you the goat next week, right? Because it's legal tender for all debts, private and public. So this is what it blows my mind. If I walk into a bank and they tell me they're cashless, I'm like, you telling me you don't accept governmental legal tender anymore? Is that what you're telling me? So, I mean, this whole thing, this blows my mind. So they've been taught to squeeze out cash. They've been taught to squeeze out crypto because those are the things they don't have any control over. And they want to control the world, as Henry Kissinger says. Guys, we've got to do something about this. We have got to do. Please talk about this with your friends. Please talk about this with your family. Please talk about this with everybody you know, because this could end. Well, think about this. What if this is essentially sovereignty above the nation? What if they're at odds with America, right? What if America ends up on their bad list? They could just cancel every transaction that is made in the entire country after we're dependent on them, after we're relying on them. What if they enforce rules and regulations that violate our Constitution, right? What if, our Constitution gives us the right to bear arms? I want to go buy a gun, but they have a rule about what merchants I can use and how often I can use that merchant. There's no telling how many different ways this can go wrong. My best advice to everybody right now is to store your wealth outside the financial system. And the way to do that is to have real, tangible goods. I'm talking about gold. I'm talking about silver. I'm talking about farmland, cattle, mines, real estate, real tangible goods, something that physically has value and will continue to, like, my house has value. I'm always going to be able to rent it out. I'm always going to be able to live in it, right? That's tangible value. You store your wealth outside of the financial system, because even if this weren't the case, the dollar is having trouble. So understand how terribly dire our situation is, especially in America. Now, of course, in America, we've got a few extra barricades between us and oblivion. But guys, this is the real deal, right? We're staring down. It drives me crazy. We're staring down like 5 or 6 different world-ending events, and this is one of them to me, right? So please tell me what you think, but whatever you do whatever you have to do to protect yourself, store your wealth outside the system, and talk about this with whoever you can. Anybody you can. And leave me a comment what you think. If you like this content, please leave me a comment and tell me you did. If you don't like this content, please leave me a comment and tell me why you didn't. That's all I ask. I always want to improve. Guys, I'll catch you next time on Couch Talk.